got some friends I haven't seen.
Non so più cosa so, cosa faccio, or vivo presso l'orecchiaccio, ogni volta.
Well, good evening. You all look fantastic. Thank you for coming out on a Thursday night. Welcome to the 2019 West Texas Walk of Fame induction ceremony. My name is James Epler. I'm with Fox 34, but tonight I am here as a representative of the Civic Lubbock Board of Directors, and this is a special night, and we are so glad that you could be part of it. Before we get started, a few people we want to recognize before we get to the main event here. First of all, Civic Lubbock is governed by a board of directors. I'd like to introduce them to you. When I call your name, if you could stand or wave. Sammy Prather is our president. Rafael Gutierrez will be unveiling the plaques this evening. Dr. Idris Traylor, Stephanie Massengale, Kathy Horkey-Wolf, Kendra Lansell, Vernita Holmes, Grace Gonzalez, Jim Douglas, and Lindley Herring. Thank you all to the board for being here this evening. We also have members of City Council with us this evening. One I know is backstage, but if we have any in the audience, if we could recognize you as well. Thank you so much for being here this evening. It is important to have city leadership that recognizes and appreciates how important the arts truly are to this community. We also want to acknowledge any past inductees to the West Texas Walk of Fame who may be here. One is on stage, who you will hear from later this evening. Any others in the audience? Welcome, welcome. I have a hard time seeing, but I believe that you're there because I heard clapping. Also want to mention, and I don't believe he is here this evening, but it's worth mentioning that a West Texas Walk of Fame inductee turned 100 years old yesterday, J.T. Braxton. And 2 years ago, he was on this stage with his son Tom playing his horn at 98 years old. That's what we do around here. Happy birthday, Mr. Braxton, 100 years old. We want to start this evening with a welcome from one of our city leaders. Our Mayor Pro Tem is with us. I'd like to welcome Mr. Jeff Griffith.
Good evening. When I was driving down here from my house a while ago, y'all, there was a rainbow. It is a special evening. We don't always get those, do we? But we have one tonight, and I think it's very fitting. Welcome to the 2019 West Texas Walk of Fame induction ceremony. In 1979, Buddy Holly was the first person inducted into the Walk of Fame. So this is the 40th anniversary of this unique honor roll of West Texas talent. I want to thank Civic Lubbock, Inc. and the Board of Directors for hosting tonight's event, and thank them for the work they do throughout the year. I also wish to extend my congratulations to all of this year's inductees, and I want to extend my thanks for their contributions to the rich musical, artistic, and cultural heritage of West Texas. For generations, West Texas artists and their art have been recognized all over the world for who they are and what they do. This evening, we add 4 new names to that prestigious list of inductees whose artistic, musical, and cultural contributions shine across our state, throughout our nation, and around the world. Congratulations to these newest West Texas Walk of Fame inductees. From the City Council, and I think I can speak for all of Lubbockite, every Lubbockite, we're here to honor you, but really, we're really honored you came home. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Appreciate you being here this evening to represent the city. Also want to thank a couple others. This does not come together quickly or easily on this stage, so we want to thank the people who made it possible. Caldwell Entertainment, Lubbock Moonlight Musicals, the Southwest Collection, Advanced Graphics, Lone Star Decorating, Tarpley Music, and the Buddy Holly Center and the City of Lubbock. Thank you all for your support for this event this evening. The Mayor Pro Tem talked a little bit about the history of the West Texas Walk of Fame. As he mentioned, this is the 40th year. It started in 1979, established. Jerry Coleman, Larry Corbin, Waylon Jennings, and others wanted to try to find a way to honor Buddy Holly in particular, which led to the statue that we now still enjoy by Grant Speed. You can see it at 19th and Crickets Avenue, moved over there not too long ago. But they also wanted to find a way that we could honor so many talented artists besides Buddy Holly who came from Lubbock and made an impact on the entertainment industry and the arts. And tonight, we welcome 4 new inductees who meet that criteria. Civic Lubbock chose these for their professionalism, their artistic, their vision, their musical talents, and we are so excited to welcome these new members. Susan Graham, David Kneupper, the late Romeo Reyna, and Larry Trider. So let's get started, shall we? Our first presenter this evening is Deborah Milosevic. She is coming to the podium to speak about Romeo Reyna.
Good evening. It is my honor and privilege to tell you about my friend and visual artist, Romeo Reyna. He was born in 1935. He and his 9 brothers and sisters first encountered Lubbock when they came with their parents as migrant workers. His sister, Lala Cavazos, told me that they were very poor, but that did not stop Romeo from making art. If he had nothing, he would make something. And she told me that he didn't have clay to work with, so he worked with mud and made little mud animals. By age 16, Romeo, he was so bright and talented as a young man that someone recognized this talent and paid for him to go to the Chicago Art Institute. This is no small accomplishment to get into one of the best top art institutes in the country, much less being 16, and he said in an interview that he could barely speak English at that time. His perseverance and talent made it possible for him to continue his studies at the Los Angeles Art Center, Otis Art Institute, and then on to other things. Then Romeo became a nationally recognized visual artist. He was known for his textile work and was featured many times in many magazines such as the Architectural Digest, Interior Design, and Texas Monthly. Although Romeo worked in many mediums, he specialized in designing and creating and installing very large tapestries. For those of you who were around when the Civic Center was built, you may have seen Romeo on a scaffold weaving a huge tapestry. So on the north wall, above all the doors, he and a lot of young people, he would help young people with their art, and he had them help him create this tapestry that covered the whole north wall. His niece, Celeste, said that she and some of her cousins, some of his nephews helped. Some of his selected commissions included installations from the Hagedorn Building in Idaho, the Sheridan Plaza in Palm Springs, the Bob Hope Cultural Center in Palm Springs, the Maxim's Restaurant in Houston, and the Black Angus Restaurant in Seattle, which at that time was one of his largest tapestry, measuring 275 feet by 4 stories tall. And he also showed in banks and museums. Still in Lubbock, you'll see his tapestries in homes. People still collect his work. That's just kind of a small overview of his artistic talent and his accomplishments as an artist, but he was also a really great cook, a wonderful storyteller, a counselor to young people and his friends, and an animal lover. And in the early days here in Lubbock, he could be found having get-togethers at one of his many studios. And I think besides the Cactus Theater, he was one of the first people to bring the arts downtown to Buddy Holly and 17th Street, where he had his studio. And if you happened to drop by his studio, the doors would be open and music would be playing, and you would probably get fed something really wonderful. He was one of the founding fathers of the Lubbock Arts Festival and the local Color Studio Tour. Romeo passed away April 26, 2016, at the age of 80. If he were here today, I know Romeo would want to thank Tommy Barron, Janice Hubble, Tony Smith, James Leatherwood, Peter Laverty, and Steve Teeters, and of course, his family, who he loved very much and talked about all the time. I know a lot of stories about you guys. Romeo Reyna was a true artist, and I want to thank him for the beauty that he left us. And we're going to miss you, sweetheart. Thank you.
So to accept for Romeo Reyna this evening is one of his family members, his niece Celeste Cavazos. Let me read the proclamation here as we're about to unveil the plaque. Here it is. Lubbock and West Texas area are rich in heritage and contributions from many gifted people in the fields of art, music, and entertainment. The Board of Directors of Civic Lubbock, Inc. takes pride in honoring Romeo Reyna as one of these outstanding contributors and pays tribute to the individual and the great talent exhibited. West Texas Walk of Fame inducted 2019 Romeo Reyna.
Thank you, James, Deborah. Good evening, everybody. I'm very honored to be accepting this award on behalf of my uncle Romeo Reyna. It's truly a blessing. Myself, for the last few days, I've been contemplating on what I was going to say tonight, what words my uncle might have shared with y'all. Deborah and I have a lot of the same things that we were going to share, that she shared with you, and that I'm going to share with y'all. But let me go ahead and start first by saying, on behalf of my Uncle Romeo's spirit and soul, his surviving siblings, my mother, Oralia Lala Cavazos, his sister Mary Alice Alvarez, his brother Ruben Reyna, and all of his family, we would like to say gracias, thank you. Thank you to the Walk of Fame Committee and the board members of the Civic Lubbock, Inc., having nominated my uncle, and for the decision to honor him in the West Texas Walk of Fame. My uncle did meet all the criteria, a lot of which Deborah mentioned earlier. He did devote a significant part of his life to the development and production of visual arts, and his body of work has been influential not only nationally but internationally. His tapestries can be found around the world. He was involved with the Lubbock Arts Alliance, coming up with the name, taking the local color artist studio tour. He was one of the founding organizers of the Lubbock Arts Festival, and he worked closely with the Texas Tech Department of Fine Arts Department. My uncle was also an artist with his garden. He created a living tapestries with his plants and flowers. He was an artist in the kitchen as well, as Deborah mentioned. He had opened a restaurant on 19th Street, late 1977, called the Azteca Nuevo. And at his studio, he hired student interns from Tech and many of my cousins, including myself, to work and learn the work of art. He taught us how to create with our hands unbelievable works of art, including the tapestry that was here at the Civic Center, always exposing and sharing with us as many people possible. His vision and his creativity were remarkable. And I guarantee you, if you were to have given him a tumbleweed, he would create magic with that. He would transform it and just make something majestic. I also want to say felicidades, congratulations to the other 3 inductees here tonight, Larry, David, and Susan. Thank you all for sharing your talent with the world and with us tonight. You all are amazing and well-deserving. My uncle would have been humbled and honored. I'm very proud to be here with y'all tonight. Again, thank you. Thank you especially to our friends and our family who were able to make it here tonight. Some traveled from South Texas, from San Antonio, California, New Mexico. And there are many, many stories that we could share, but we would be here all night. And like my Uncle Ruben said in a text message, or in a message he sent me earlier today, Romeo could have ended up in any place in this world, but he chose Lubbock. He chose to hang his sombrero, his Stetson, by his bedpost here in Lubbock, Texas. Going on to close now, I would like to say art was Romeo's life, but his family, his familia, was his love. My mother was not able to make it here, but she has a short message for y'all.
Good evening and buenas tardes. On behalf of myself and the whole Reyna family, we would like to thank the West Texas Walk of Fame for honoring our brother Romeo. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Celeste, and congratulations to Romeo Reyna and his family. Which brings us to our next inductee this evening, and I'd like to bring up Mr. Sean Nagy to introduce Larry Trider.
Good evening. Mayor of Lasbuddy called Larry, he's clearing your parking tickets. In 2016, the Norman Petty Estate put me in charge of digitizing their photo, video, and audio vault, and as I sorted through thousands of recordings, I set aside a stack of reels by Larry Trider. What I found was a wide variety of musical styles, and I heard why Norman signed this young man to a management contract immediately. While growing up in the thriving metropolis of Lasbuddy, gathering around the family piano was a primary form of entertainment. So Larry carved a piece of wood to resemble a guitar, piece of twine for a strap, and used thin fencing for strings. But his hard work on the farm eventually helped buy a real guitar. I don't think that too many people realize the impact that Elvis's local performances had on the local musicians, turning country Western style guys into rock and rollers, and Larry was one of them. He went to Petty Studios in the summer of 1956 to record 2 Elvis songs, and facing the decision of spending his life doing farm work or pursuing dreams of traveling as a musician, he was off to join a band as soon as he was old enough to travel. He joined Rick Tucker's band in Amarillo playing stand-up bass, and by the age of 17 formed his first band, Larry Trider and the Nomads, becoming instantly a local smash. Returning occasionally to the Petty studio, Norman successfully got a contract with the Roulette Records label, and Larry had his first 45 in early 1961. Next, it was on to Coral Records. Dick Jacobs, who had arranged and conducted the famous string sessions for Buddy Holly. And now here was Larry recording with Dick Jacobs, backed by a 20-piece orchestra in the Big Apple. The polished recordings resulted in 2 singles, but were unfortunately thrown on the back burner because of some new British band taking over the world, and Larry had been sidelined by Beatlemania. His Coral 45s have become high-priced collector items in the current market, and Norman also got him releases on the Dot Records label and CBS out of the Netherlands. So come 1965, Jerry Naylor had quit the Crickets, and Norman recommended that Larry fill in with the group as their lead singer on the remaining tour dates. So Larry was a Cricket for a few months in the spring of 1965. But he didn't feel comfortable with the hairstyle, clothing, and sound of the rock scene and took a totally different direction that would prove to be his most successful. Larry signed with Amy Records, making his country debut in 1968 with the song Going Away, song co-written by another Walk of Fame member here tonight, Mr. George Tomsko, and yet another Norman Petty production. Success in the country genre led to his new group being offered a house band position at the Cow Palace in Colorado, so Larry moved and put together the well-rehearsed Larry Trider show in early 1969. His well-known ability to take amateur-level musicians and within no time have them rehearsed, reshaped, into polished musicians was known as the Trider influence. He wrote out a list of stage rules to go by and had his performers read them before going on stage just to keep their morale and standards up. And his list would and should be a great reference for today's current performers, yet obviously is not. His well-rehearsed show caught the attention of the Las Vegas agents, and the band was contracted to the prestigious Golden Nugget Casino in 1973. There it was, all the way from Laz Buddy, and Larry's name was in lights on the Vegas Strip. He had finally hit the big time. His only full-length country album was released in 1974, but he didn't need charting songs to become a well-known name in the music industry. His polished show and persona had his group in demand across 42 states at top venues, including a performance at the White House, festivals, and other large events, while receiving rave reviews in newspapers and in country music magazines. The difference being amongst his peers, he's one of the very few people that are here to tell the stories today. Larry resided in Las Vegas for 27 years until in 2014 he had congestive heart failure along with double pneumonia, which left him in a coma for 16 days. The health scare prompted him to move closer to family, and he returned to his Texas roots, moving back to Laz Buddy in 2016. The homecoming isn't always how one hopes it will be, and a dangerous thing happens when musicians have too much time on their hands. They think. They usually overthink, and it turns either into creativity or depression. And a wide open West Texas field is an empty and lonely place to be when you have too much time to think about the past. As the last cheer fades, the name is taken off the marquee, venues get bulldozed down, and new artists arrive on the scene. You wonder if you've made a mark. You wonder if it was worth it all. And I'm happy to say, Larry, they do remember you. Tonight you're being celebrated and recognized for your decades of hard work, and I believe Larry is celebrated tonight because he's the epitome of a West Texas musician. Leaving behind a trail of empty bottles, broken hearts, and broken strings, he has truly lived his songs. I'm proud to call you a friend, Larry, and I know your family, friends, and Laz Buddy are proud of you too tonight.
Larry, would you mind joining me? What do you got? I got something for you. I'd like to read the proclamation, which you will hear 4 times tonight. There will be a test on this at the end of the evening. Here it is, sir. Lubbock and the West Texas area are rich in heritage and contributions from many gifted people in the fields of art, music, and entertainment. The Board of Directors of Civic Lubbock, Inc. takes pride in honoring you, Larry Trider, as one of these outstanding contributors and pays tribute to the individual and the great talent exhibited. West Texas Walk of Fame, inducted 2019, Mr. Larry Trider. Now,
Let me pass this to my wife.
you want to pass it to your wife, all right? No, he's not letting anybody else hold it. Now, Larry, before you take the mic, we actually have one more person who wanted to say something, a good friend of yours and a fan. If everyone could please watch the screen.
Hello, Lubbock, Texas. I can speak from the heart about the fact that it takes a long time sometimes for a decision to be made, and I want to say that I'm so happy to say congratulations to my friend Larry Trider. You are well deserved, my friend. I'm sorry I'm not right there to hug your neck right now and congratulate you personally. I am in Nashville, Tennessee, and my daughter is about to domino with twins, one boy, one girl. I got to tell you, Larry, thank you for everything you did for me. I think you're the greatest band leader that ever graced the streets of Lubbock, Texas. I'm so grateful to you, and I love you dearly, Hoss, and congratulations.
Larry Trider, everybody.
Well, Sean, you didn't tell me you were a comedian. This is such an honor to be here tonight, and I just can't put in words how good I feel. I just wish everybody in this audience felt as good as I do. This is great. And first, I want to thank God for this day. He made it possible for me to sing and play and do what I've done in life. And I'd like to thank my pretty wife, Paula, Miss Paula Trider, and all of my children for being with me throughout a rough and rocky trail. And they're still with me, and thank you so much. I love you. And Paula, would you stand up for me? Please. Get somebody to help you there. Miss Paula Ray Trider, folks. All right, here's my memory. I would like to thank this city for having a place for me to hone my skills, place to rehearse, and a place to present the music that we rehearsed. And they've backed me for years. And this is a beautiful way to show it, and this is a great time for me to thank all of you. And I would like to thank these people from the Walk of Fame. Don Caldwell. This is not an easy program to put together. And they've worked hard to do this right, and I would just like to thank them. Vicky Key has been very nice through this. And I was told the other day, Larry, when you get up there, you might need to say something a little bit different to kind of pull the audience in. You know, and it's hard to find something when you're doing a speech like this, and I'm not a speaker, but I've been thinking, and all I could come up with is, I'm not wearing any shorts. I would like to thank all the musicians. This town is something else as far as producing good musicians. And they tell me that some of the guys around town have counted the amount of musicians that have worked for me, not just sitting in, but really worked for me. And they counted up 80 musicians, and most of them from right here in Lubbock. And that is saying something, you know. And while I'm talking about musicians, I used to have a one-man band, but I couldn't keep them together. But I'm talking about musicians tonight, and we've lost 3 the last few months. And Mr. Jimmy Pritchett from Florida, great guitarist, and a great person and a dear friend for years. And then Rick Sanchez, I found him in Albuquerque, and he moved his wife and family here and made this his home. We lost him just a few weeks ago. And then Brett James, a guitarist from here, a good guitarist and a great person. And he passed away not long ago, and I just like to dedicate my part to those guys, and we'll see you soon, boys. I want to thank the people from Palmer County, Texas, where I was raised. And Lasbuddy is the capital of Palmer County. We all know that. And my brother Ted Trider is the mayor. And Jerry Don Glover is the co-mayor. But that's of West Lasbuddy. Oh, I'm funny on days like this. I want to thank all these farmers and cattlemen that took off today early. I want to tell you, these guys are busy. And some of you took off early to be at this program. And thank you all so much. Melvin, Rusty, and Brian, all you fellas. You need to come by the Trider Corner out there. It's called the Trider Junction, Ted Trider Corner. They have free coffee every morning if you're ever out by Lasbuddy, and lots of conversation. So try to come by and see us. I want to thank several people here. There's more than I could even get through tonight, but Mr. Norman Petty helped me with my career a lot. And I want to thank Mr. Sean Nagy for coming all the way from California. Thank you, Sean. Sean called me a while back. I just turned 77. And I thought I never will play or sing again or anything. And all of those tapes that I made at the Petty Studios, I thought after Norman and Vi had passed on, I thought they would be lost. And Sean came through and went through the vaults over there and gave me a call. And he said, Larry, I've got about 30 different songs that I've heard going through that vault, and I think they should be heard. So Sean, when I turned 77, put out a new album. And thank you, Sean, very much. Yes, sir. Miss Marnette Winter, my sweet niece, has helped talk to people and helped put this program together for Larry Trider. And dear, I love you and thank you so much for your help. Lord Maines, I could talk all night, and y'all all know who he is and how good a musician he is and how good that family is, that whole family, the brothers and Lloyd. Lloyd did the liner notes on my album that Sean put out. And like I say, I could talk all night, but I think Lloyd became a fan of mine, he and his brothers, the day I hit town. And I just love the man, and he's stayed a good old country boy, and he's super successful now in the music world. Mr. George Tomsco came all the way from, George, you here? Yeah. George, thank you. He came all the way from Raton, New Mexico to be here. And he's also in the Walk of Fame. Played on my very first record. Thank you, George, for being a friend and a good picker along the way, buddy. Wally Moyer has been so nice to me. His dad was a fan of mine, and he would tell Wally about me. So later on, I got to know Wally, and I thank Wally for being such a nice man to me and turned into a great musician. And Mr. J. Boy Adams, bless his heart, he came to see me in Lasbuddy, and we had such a nice visit. And he told me then, he said, Larry, I'm going to do something for you. I was kind of down, you know. He says, I'm going to do something for you. I don't know what, but I'm going to do something. And you saw the film that was played earlier, and that's really nice. Mr. Royce Glenn, thank you for being here, buddy. Royce became a fan of mine when he was 15 years old. And I hired him when he was 16 or 17. And he listened to me and worked with me, not against me. But he became a close friend and a great drummer and has stayed with me all of these years. And a guy couldn't ask for a better friend or a fan. Thank you, Royce. I thank you folks for being here tonight and listening to an old guy that's not a speaker, but I'm not a speaker, but I can speak the truth. And you know how to write a country song? Is 3 chords and the truth. Thank you all much, and good night to you.
Larry Trider, everybody. Before we move on, I wonder, Larry, if you wouldn't mind doing a song for us. Would that be all right?
I'm busy.
He's busy. You're busy. I think we're going to get you set up right over here, Larry. Now, I wish we had an honorary award. He may not be wearing shorts, he says, but everything else he's got on is fabulous. I wish we had a well-dressed man award we could add on top. Which, speaking of well-dressed men, Sean Nagy, I don't know if you've seen these boots, but those things, I don't know if you know this, but if the light hits them right and you're looking at them right, you can actually see your future in them. It's amazing. They're fantastic. All right, Larry, thank you so much.
Kick it off, Wichita. winter's come and gone, and now it's time for the winds to blow. I've sang my songs, and now it's time for me to go. Got some friends I haven't seen in 2 years or so. Oh, I think I'll go to New Mexico. Things aren't working out for me in this old town. I might be backing up, but son, I'm not backing down. I think I'll hang my worries up on some old highline pole, and I'm just gonna hit the road to Colorado. It's Lord Maines now. I thought I had it made when I came here about a year ago. I worked hard every day just to try to make a show. Now it's time to say goodbye to everyone I know. I'm gonna hit the road to New Mexico. Things aren't working out for me in this old town. I might be backing up, but I'm not backing down. I think I'll hang my worries up on some old highline pole. Well, I think I'll go to New Mexico, down some old dirt road, David, to New Mexico. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Bless you. Bless you. Thank you so much. All right. Thanks. Thank you. Bless you, folks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry. That was special. We have already had a few surprises for both you and our inductees this evening, and we have more on the way now as we move on to our next honoree for the evening. Next up is David Kneupper. And to start things off for him, I'd like you to turn your attention to the video screen for a special presentation.
I met David Kneupper years ago when I was in the agency business, and what we worked on, we talked together, we collaborated on things that's called sweetening. As a term that was used back then when you would take a video project for whether it was a TV spot or a long form, and you would add music and sound effects to intensify the effectiveness and really the power of the message of either one. So we'd work together, and I would share my thoughts with him, the feelings about what we were doing, and then, of course, he would do his magic and create something that was just obviously incredible. You know, David, I just want to take this moment to tell you how much I cherish our friendship and our creative partnerships over the years. We did some incredible things together, and I'm so proud of you, and you're very, very deserving of this award. You know, I love you, Guy, and congratulations.
First time I met David was like in the mid-1980s, and I was working for Phil Price Advertising at the time, and we were doing commercials on film. And we would cut the video together, and then we'd turn it over to David, and he would compose or sweeten this music track to those commercials, and they just made it fantastic. And he was one of those guys that you could just turn over anything to and just take your hands off of it, and you knew it was going to be perfect every time. We always knew that David was really, really good. I mean, he was good, but we just didn't realize how far he was going to go. Over the years, we've heard of all these projects he's worked on that have been really, really good. I'm just thinking, man, it's really cool that I got to work with that guy.
When I was a student at Texas Tech University, I had the privilege of studying with David Kneupper. I don't know if David even remembers this. It was an arranging class, and we walked in the very first day, and we thought we were going to be studying with Jim Sudduth. But in walks David Kneupper. And we all looked around and we thought, well, he's a graduate teaching assistant. He's not a professor. But we had the most amazing experience with him. He was such a great mentor and teacher through the class that it really opened up for a lot of the students opportunities to arrange and write music. So for me, I took that love of the class and started arranging and writing music myself. I will never forget what you taught me, and it was such a privilege to be in your class. So I wish you the very best, and congratulations on an award well deserved.
David Kneupper, what a great guy. Met David in the fall of 1981 when he started his graduate studies at Texas Tech University, and we were immediately fast friends. Stories about David Kneupper. Well, I don't think I could tell those stories because I don't want David to have any legal problems while he's out in West Texas. So instead, I'll just say David is one of the most talented, gifted, nicest, smartest, wicked, intelligent people I've ever met, but most of all, he's my friend. Congratulations to you, David. This is a great honor and well-deserved. Best of luck with everything.
I did a lot of projects with David, and it was always a great experience. I was just always blown away by his talent. I was that guy, came up playing rock and roll guitar and in bands and bars and whatever, and he was the guy that was educated. It's two totally different worlds, but it was really a great experience. We even learned to fly together, so we became really good friends. And David, I couldn't be more proud for you or proud of you. And just congratulations. I
I had the good fortune of being in the audio recording business when David came to Texas Tech. And I'll tell you, working with him was an absolute dream. He turned out the most fabulous work at that young age. It was amazing. So David, I want to say to you, I can't wait to see what you do in the future. And congratulations on being inducted into the West Texas Walk of Fame.
For a second, I bet you felt like you had died, right? Yeah. All these people saying great things. Well, we're going to hear some more great things about you. To introduce David Kneupper, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Alan Shin.
Thank you, everybody. I made a nice video, too, but by the time Don Caldwell edited it, it was all on the floor. So much of what I did in my video is right here. David and I go way back. I first met David Kneupper in 1980 during my first year of college teaching at Southwest Texas State University, now Texas Tech. David was a senior music education major who played the euphonium in the band, conducted by a tremendous musical influence on both of us, the late Jim Sudduth. If you don't know what a euphonium is, we call it a baritone horn out here in West Texas. All music ed majors must learn to play all of the band instruments, and David was in my percussion methods class. I knew right away that David was special. His hunger for knowledge, his intelligence, his enthusiasm for the percussion medium, along with his great laugh, gave us an immediate connection that we still share to this day. We met many times after class, and the result was David's composition for percussion ensemble called Phylogeny. It's a work of genius that I have conducted many times, and I'm still blown away that an undergrad music ed major composed this. After Sudduth became Texas Tech's director of bands, David moved to Lubbock to attend Texas Tech. I soon followed as professor of percussion, and in 1982, we were all together where our connection deepened. We became colleagues and close friends. David was cranking out arrangements for the Goin' Band and working on his master's thesis, Passacaglia and Fugue Rondo, which again featured percussion. I was so proud to be present when Jim Sudduth conducted David's composition in Carnegie Hall in 1993. Fast forward to the present when David called me and asked if I would introduce him at the West Texas Walk of Fame ceremony. Even though we haven't kept in great touch, we both remarked how it was like we just picked up where we left off 25 years ago. David is one of the most talented people I know, and I'm proud to call him my friend. Now, I would like to read you David's most important accomplishments. Composer and sound designer David Kneupper works primarily with theme parks, museums, branded experiences, and new media. David has worked extensively with Universal Studios, the Walt Disney Company, Warner Brothers, Six Flags, and many other attractions across the U.S., Europe, and Asia. One of the highlights of his career was when he was asked to compose a score for the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum. The goal was to have the music for individual exhibits mix artistically with adjacent exhibits. David was challenged to write 3 different songs for 3 separate exhibits that would still be harmonious when played at the same time. This project, which resulted in over 3 hours of music, took about 15 months to complete. Other attractions that David has created original music and sound design for include Madagascar, A Great Adventure, Steven Spielberg's Light Camera Action, and that's very current, for Universal Studios Singapore, The Soul of Nashville for the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee, the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction at the Shanghai Disney Resort, Alamo the Experience, San Antonio, Texas, the shuttle launch experience for the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, and many more. Very diverse, as you can tell as well. 11 of his projects have been awarded the Themed Entertainment Association's THEA Award for Outstanding Achievement. David is a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the Motion Picture Sound Editors Guild,
the Themed Entertainment Association, and the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attraction. David holds both the master's and doctorate in composition from Texas Tech University, where he is a distinguished alumnus. And now please welcome to the microphone 2019 inductee into the West Texas Walk of Fame, my good friend, Dr. David Kneupper.
I get to give you your plaques. Here's your plaque, sir. And it reads, Lubbock and the West Texas area are rich in heritage and contributions from many gifted people in the fields of art, music, and entertainment. The Board of Directors of Civic Lubbock, Inc. takes pride in honoring David Kneupper as one of these outstanding contributors and pays tribute to the individual and the great talent exhibited. West Texas Walk of Fame inducted 2019, David Kneupper.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alan. There's a polysyllabic German word for feeling both proud and embarrassed at the same time. That would be what I'm feeling right about now. My first memory of an award show was when I was a teenager in high school. And I don't remember the show, and I don't remember any of the recipients. But what I do remember is that the winners all did the same thing. They came up to the microphone and they thanked people. So my memory of that night was a vague sense of disappointment that instead of coming up and telling interesting stories about the projects that they were getting an award for, all they wanted to do was thank people that I had never heard of before. 40 plus years later, my teenage self would probably be surprised to learn that at a moment like this, actually all you want to do is thank people. And the reason is that from this perspective, it becomes painfully obvious that the reason that you're here is because of an unlikely progression of really nice things that others have done for you. You're here because of the kindness of strangers, and the memories of all of those experiences come flooding back to you in a very humbling torrent. So, high school, David, instead of a fun story, it's time to say thanks to a few people. At the top of the list is my mom, Edith Kneupper. In 3 weeks, my mom turns 90 years old. She still plays accordion, both as a soloist and in a duo called the Squeeze Box Gals. And I learned last night that she drove here herself from New Braunfels. And best of all, she's here tonight. I love you, Mom. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for my mom, Edith Kneupper. My two sisters, Becky and Loretta, are here tonight too. You've been my very biggest fans. In fact, the very first piece I ever wrote was upon the birth of my youngest sister, Loretta. So these people have been here from the very beginning. And you've been my biggest fans even when reasonable men would agree that I often didn't deserve it. So I love you guys, you're the very best. I'm often asked to name the project that I'm most proud of, the thing that I really feel the very best about. And parents, you'll understand this, because the best thing that I've ever done is my two sons, Christian and Nicholas. Now, Christian is in Germany on study abroad, and he can't be here tonight. But Nicholas is here, studying music at Michigan. He came down from Ann Arbor to join us, so thank you, Nicholas. I'm so happy you're here, and so proud of what you're doing. I met the late Jim Sudduth at my audition at Texas State University. I was 17, I was incredibly green. It wasn't a great audition, but I had a long neck beer box full of music compositions, about 70 pieces, and Sudduth saw that box and was really curious about what was in there. And so from that point on, he took me under his wing for the next 10 years, and I he filled in so many blanks for me, both in life and in music. To the greatest cowboy fan who ever lived, thank you, Jim Sudduth. I had never met anybody as infectiously positive as Alan Shin. His percussion class was an absolute revelation to me, and it resulted in my first large-scale composition for percussion ensemble. Alan is my oldest academic friend, and it is a joy to pick up right where we left off every time we talk. I'm proud to say that Don Caldwell gave me my first break in the studio business. It was the spark that led me out of academia and into my career. Of course, when you say that somebody's the guy that gave you your first break, that's code for, I worked for Don when I was really terrible. The piano sessions and string arrangements that I did for Don were literally probably the worst of my career, and I feel like I owe him a make good. For Don's legendary kindness, I repaid him with the worst output of my career and my rookie season. So Don, thank you so much. Don gave me my start, but I learned how to be a working musician from the talented guys at Broadway Studios. Craig and Bruce Alderson, Wally Moyers, and Tom Woodruff taught me what it was like to write music for a living. And I can't thank them enough for that. And we did all of this in the 80s, which was something of a blossoming in broadcast media in Lubbock, and some really, really creative work was being done there. And I had the pleasure to work with some of the most creative people in town at the time, and Randy Christian, Brad Moran, Jeff Pittner, Phil Price, Gary Bain. Those were all great days, and thank you to all of you for everything you've done. In the attractions world, Bob Rogers is what Don Caldwell is to the West Texas music world. Bob has founder status with Lifetime Achievement Awards. He's been a governor in the Academy, and he has multiple Oscar nominations. Bob took a chance with me in 1995, and for the past 24 years, I've literally done my best work for Bob, and it's been really amazing working with him and the great people at BRC Imagination Arts. Thank you, Bob, for everything that you've done. I also met my lifelong friends here in Lubbock, Mike Wells, Anthony Gibson, John Locke, Gary Lewis, Fred Harden. You're amongst the oldest friends I have, and I can't thank you enough for your friendship. Lastly, I want to thank my wife, Joy McCarthy. Joy, blessedly, is a civilian in this business. Thank you for the love, for the balance, and for the 15 amazing years together. You saw so much of all of this happen, yet you remained appropriately unimpressed. I thank you so much for that, and I love you. Don, this is a great honor. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, David Kneupper. As we round third, our final inductee this evening will be introduced by another West Texas Walk of Fame inductee. To introduce Susan Graham, John Gillis.
The short guy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my honor and pleasure this evening to introduce to you international star of the operatic and concert stages of the world, Susan Graham. Susan grew up in Midland, Texas. Already an accomplished musician and budding vocal talent when she enrolled in Texas Tech as a voice major, it became obvious that with her lovely lyric mezzo voice, her affinity for languages, and not to mention her height, she would be particularly ideal for a group of operatic roles called in German Hosenrollen or trouser roles. in which the mezzo is required to sing the part of a young man. She was introduced to several of these roles during her time at Tech, and they've become signature roles for her. When she finished her bachelor's and master's degree at Tech, she enrolled in the Manhattan School of Music in New York City. While there, she was chosen to play the title role in a seldom performed opera, Cherubin, by Jules Massenet. It was a great success and brought her to the notice of the New York musical world and, more importantly, professional management. In 1988, she won the Metropolitan Opera National Auditions and followed that by winning San Francisco's highest award in the Merrill Young Artist Program. In 1991, Susan made her Met Opera debut, and her international debut followed with the Royal Opera at Covent Garden in 1994. For 30 years, she's been in demand at the leading opera houses of the world, the United States, England, Germany, Italy, Paris, Vienna, and many, many others. Her performances of Strauss's Der Rosenkavalier as the young nobleman Octavian, with Renee Fleming as the Marschallin, have become legendary in the world of opera. Susan's spectacular career also now includes many of the great female roles of opera. I have a vivid memory of a Live from the Met production that I saw at Movie 16 here in Lubbock. Susan was singing the role of Marguerite in Berlioz's Damnation of Faust in a new and creative production. She has a beautiful and passionate aria that seemed to have her suspended in space, surrounded by fire, and as the music became more intense, her whole image was projected to fill the entire stage. Combined with her singing, the effect was absolutely stunning. Susan has appeared in opera and concert with many of the world's most famous conductors: Seiji Osawa, Sir Colin Davis, James Levine, Claudio Abbado, Sir Neville Marriner, Edo de Wart, Sir Georg Scholti, and Robert Shaw, among many others. Susan loves the French opera and concert repertory and is considered a leading expert in this music. The French government has bestowed on her its Legion of Honor, the nation's highest honor in the arts. Some of America's leading composers have created operatic roles for her, including the role of Sister Helen Prigine in Jake Hagee's Dead Man Walking for its world premiere at the San Francisco Opera. Susan's Carnegie Hall recital debut was in April 2003. She was Musical America's Vocalist of the Year in 2004, and in 2006, her hometown of Midland declared September 5th as Susan Graham Day, which continues annually. She is a Grammy Award winner with Best Classical Vocal Recording of 2004 and has produced nearly 20 solo recordings, many award winners among them. She was invited to sing at the second inaugural of George W. Bush and at the state dinner at the White House and at the funeral of Senator Edward Kennedy. In 2016, the Metropolitan Opera celebrated her 25th anniversary with the company. This evening, I would like to thank Dr. William Westney, Browning Artist in Residence at the School of Music at Texas Tech, who will accompany Susan as she sings Cherubino's aria from Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro. Cherubino, another signature role for Susan, is in love with love itself, confused and excited about this new feeling he has and wishing to tell everyone and everything about it, even the mountains and the valleys and the streams. But if no one will listen, then he'll talk to himself alone. I give you Susan Graham.
Non so più cosa faccio, or di opera sono ringaccio, ogni volta già di colore, ogni tono
I'm just going to try to keep my voice from cracking after that. Wow. Wow. That took my breath away, right? Let me read the proclamation, if I can. Lubbock and West Texas area are rich in heritage and contributions from many gifted people in the fields of art, music, and entertainment. The Board of Directors of Civic Lubbock takes pride in honoring Susan Graham as one of these outstanding contributors and pays tribute to the individual and the great talent exhibited. West Texas Walk of Fame inducted 2019, Susan Graham. I can hold it. I don't know if you need it, but...
I don't need a microphone. Yes, I do actually. Thank you all so much. I can't tell you what a joy it is to be here. Thank you, Mr. Gillis, as I called him 40 years ago. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And thank you, Dr. Westney, for your amazing playing. It is just such a great honor to be among these amazing artists here tonight. And so I have to tell you, when I was in Texas Tech, I had a boyfriend. We went our separate ways, but 30 years later, we got married. That's what this feels like tonight. I feel like we've come full circle. We sort of went our separate ways for a while, but always stayed in touch. And now here we are at this ritual ceremony, and I couldn't be happier. There are people out there in this great big wide world of opera, believe it or not, who may not have ever heard of Lubbock, Texas, and can't imagine that Texas Tech University could produce world-class opera singers. But during my time here, Texas Tech produced at least 5 to 10 world-class singers. The wonderful opportunities and training that I got at Texas Tech set me on a path that allowed me to spread my wings and do things I never dreamed. Since I left school, I've been a priestess and a nun, a Persian emperor and a Roman empress, at least 2 crusader knights, a merry wife of Windsor, and an equally merry widow. I have dressed up as a boy. I've dressed up as a boy, dressed up as a girl many, many times. I've played the queen, I've played the king, and I've played the king and I. I've committed several murders, a few suicides, and I have been killed by Jack the Ripper. I've sung for presidents and royalty. I've gotten medals from foreign countries, and I have a Grammy Award of my very own. And I've even held the Mona Lisa in my hands. In my hands. That was the most exciting thing. That was the most breathtaking thing. I mean, you know, you can sing for kings and queens all day long, but holding a 500-year-old painting, I tried to nick it and steal it, but they caught me at the door. I don't know. But I think that it must be those infinite wide-open skies and broad, flat horizons that make you believe that anything is possible. Where I come from in Midland, it's called the Tall City, and they say the sky's the limit. And I think the same thing goes for Lubbock. But not to mention the fact that when you're 20 years old, in Lubbock, Texas, in the early 80s, there wasn't an awful lot to do. So we all got very creative. And I think that that creativity that we came up with back then just to keep ourselves amused also happened to inform our ability to be creative in our chosen art forms. Mac Davis famously said that happiness is Lubbock, Texas in my rearview mirror. But I'm here to say that somehow Lubbock, Texas ended up on my GPS because not only have I come back tonight, but I am now also a very proud member of the Texas Tech School of Music faculty. They've given me this very groovy title of Marquee Professor, which I think means that I get to bring what I've learned on stages in the past 30 years into the classroom and into a performing lab for a group of carefully chosen opera students. I teach for 2 weeks a semester, and I'm just now finishing my first week. And I have to say that it is so gratifying to see such a wonderful tradition carrying on with these young opera students. They are eager, they are open, and they're willing to listen to a lot of stories from an old road warrior like myself. But I'm having a great time working with them. I just took a few days off in this week of teaching to fly to Berlin and do a concert about 48 hours ago in Germany. I got back at midnight last night, so I'm not really sure what time it is, but I'm sure glad to be here. It's a particularly great honor to share this evening with all of these wonderful, esteemed artists, and especially my friend David Kneupper, as we were in school together several decades ago. I would also like to thank my extended Lubbock family, old and new. First and foremost, the Gillises, Jack and Mary. They were instrumental, no pun intended, in teaching me how to sing, how to be on stage, and how to begin to communicate. The Cheatham family, who have welcomed me into their fold for many years now. The Morgans, Mike, whom you all have known from many musical appearances here in Lubbock, and whom I've known since the first day I set foot in Lubbock, Texas in 1978. His lovely wife, Marielle, and his wonderful daughter, Hannah, by whom I have the distinct and great honor to be called Aunt Susie. And more recently, Dean Noel Zoller of the College of Visual and Performing Arts and his lovely wife, Clara. And it was his innovative thinking and resourcefulness which forged the initiative that culminated in an invitation for me to join the faculty. And they also happen to be my hosts when I'm in town teaching. So this is truly a homecoming. And I noticed that the Mayor Pro Tem got a little choked up when he said to all of us, "Welcome home." And I understand that because I'm getting a little choked up thinking about it myself. A lot has happened to all of us since we were young in Lubbock. And it's a real thrill and a privilege to be acknowledged and appreciated for everything that we got here and that we took out into the world. I want to thank Civic Lubbock for this very, very great honor and for just making it all possible for all of us to be here tonight. And I'm just thrilled that I could be here too. Thank you so very much.
Germany and back in 48 hours. I almost feel guilty asking Susan, but just one more. Can we have just, I don't mean to be greedy, I know, but can we have one more, please? Would you do us the honor? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Hannah Morgan, who is Susan's goddaughter. Whew. Y'all a little hot and bothered by that performance, or is it just... Wow. That was fantastic, Susan. Thank you. To all of the inductees, congratulations and welcome into the West Texas Walk of Fame. Before we go, you two ladies in the back, don't leave just yet, Vicki and Lisa. I want to point out just a couple more people who made this evening possible. Vicki Key and Lisa Thomason, and the Civic Center staff, city staff that put this together. Thank you so much for organizing this. And finally, because he hasn't been mentioned enough tonight, Don Caldwell, who put this whole shebang together, a Class A performance. That concludes our program. Susan Graham, David Kneupper, Larry Trider, and the family of Romeo Reyna, congratulations again. And thank you all for coming this evening. Good night.